Today is a day that many of us is contemplating as to what the outcome starting today will be. I want to start off by saying that Jamaica is in the top 5 most disastrous countries in the world. We sit in the middle of the earthquake fault line, and we are exposed to natural disasters. The pending impact of Melissa is not something that as a country we should take lightly. And even yesterday, engaging with some fellow Jamaicans, their argument is that we are a God-blessed country and we are gifted and the system will pass. Well, the Bible also reminds us that God helps those who help themselves. And I believe that we are at a point now where the government, the Ministry of Local Government, through the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, will have to take the necessary steps to ensure that we put in place the systems which exist that gives us the powers under the Disaster Act to ensure that Jamaicans comply and Jamaicans do what is necessary. Later on this afternoon, I'll be meeting with all the mayors. And one of the areas of concerns that has been brought to my attention, and I did a few surveys across the corporate here this morning, that there are several major construction sites that still has materials, sand, gravel, steel, and in some cases, cranes still hanging in the air. I'm going to make a general appeal this morning to all construction sites, not just only in the corporate here, but right across the country, that they must start to take the necessary steps to remove cranes, steels, sand, blocks, which will only contribute more to the blocking of our drains and can have devastating effects on individuals, people's property, and can result in extreme damage. Billboards should be taken down. And this is the work of the municipal corporations. So I am saying that all billboards should be taken down at this time and put in a safe place. You still have used car operators who continue to use the public thoroughfare to display their vehicles, park them overnight, just to advise that a team of wreck operators is presently combing the streets of the corporate area, and where we find these vehicles, we are going to remove them and take them to the Riverton City dump. We cannot afford to create human missiles that will hurt persons during this period. I am asking for the cooperation of those persons that I have just outlined a while ago. There has been some controversy coming from the opposition as it relates to the funds that they are claiming that they have not gotten to spend. And I want to spend a couple of minutes on it because I don't want the country to believe that this administration or myself as the minister in any way is playing politics with emergency. The municipal corporations, by law, is required to hold a percentage of the parochial revenue funds that they have. And the purpose of that is to respond to emergencies. Those funds should not be spent unless an emergency such as the one we are experiencing now is happening. And they are required to seek the permission of the ministry to spend those funds, because previously, before, that funds were used to do other things outside of emergencies. And in fairness to some of the MCs, they have been using the SGR, and they have said it publicly in response to the call. Some have not, because they have exhausted the SGR on other issues that are not emergency related. And they are therefore looking to the Ministry of Local Government to supplement what they have used outside of what is required. Funds have been earmarked. They were advised that they could use 2 months of the parochial revenue funds for drain cleaning. And I want the country to understand that the municipal corporations generate their own source of revenues that they can spend at their own ledger, that the ministry has nothing to do with. So the municipal corporations can find funds to do the work that is necessary. And I note that the opposition have mentioned that based on the survey that they did, all of the municipalities have said that they are not in a position. Pause to welcome Prime Minister. And I note that it is said that some of the municipalities are not in a position to do it. All of them, the release said. But at least 5 municipalities that are controlled by the opposition has come out publicly to say that they have undertaken drain cleaning exercise and they are in a state of readiness. I want to say to the country this morning that this administration takes seriously the question of our preparedness for disaster. And we will work across the board to ensure that we provide quality service to the people and to ensure that the people's business is taken care of. So let me repeat again that the municipal corporations are in a position. There are 13 levels of fees that they are collecting, that they have control over those 13 layers of fees. The only ones that is controlled by government in terms of the Ministry of Finance is the PRF, which is a proceeds of the revenues from motor vehicle licensing and fees, which we get 66 1/3%. And on submission of your program, the funds are released, and the determination of the amount that the MCs get is not determined by the Ministry of Local Government. It comes directly from tax office. They get property taxes. They get trade license, which are a significant amount of revenues. So they are in a position to do what is necessary. I'd like to therefore now touch on two critical areas of our preparedness as we get deeper into the hurricane. Already I would have written to the Most Honorable Prime Minister on the advice of the Director General of ODPEM under the Disaster Risk Management Act to make a declaration, which the Prime Minister did yesterday. Jamaicans, there is another request I'll be putting in writing to the Prime Minister for his consideration. That based on the extent of the system, there are vulnerable communities in Jamaica that it is advisable that persons do not remain in these communities during the passage of the hurricane. Provisions are made in the Disaster Risk Management Act for compulsory evacuation. Places like Rocky Point in Clarendon, Taylor Land in Bull Bay, New Haven, Riverton City, and many other communities that will be affected, where lives will be threatened. I will therefore be writing to the Prime Minister based on the recommendations of the Acting Director General of ODPEM that we take those steps to advise those communities of the intent to declare this order. But I want to make an appeal to persons who are living in these communities. Port Royal is one such community that is of concern, that you can start to make arrangements to move and go and spend time with relatives and friends. It is in your interest that this is done. And I want to say this, and I have to speak, Prime Minister, because this is how I am. It is going to be impossible when the event comes, after all the efforts that you would have made, to say to our first respondent, go to point A and point B, to put their lives at risk when persons refuse to move before. And I want to urge Jamaicans, do not take this for granted. We have already removed the residents of 3 infirmaries that sits on the mouth of the river of the sea in St. Ann, Hanover, and Trelawney. Those residents have been removed to safe grounds, and we are presently removing the homeless population from the streets and placing them in shelters right across the country. The Ministry of Local Government and ADPEM is in a position, Prime Minister, to provide relief supplies when necessary, Prime Minister. We have a team here in Jamaica from Sedema, which came in over the last 2 days, which is helping us in our communication system and is here to give support to the team on the ground. The government is doing all that it can within its powers, but the greater effort has to come from the people themselves. And I want to use my presentation this morning to urge Jamaicans to take this seriously. Do not gamble with Melissa. It's not a safe bet. I urge Jamaicans to think about themselves first. I hope and pray that God will grant us the strength and the courage, and that He will smile on us and be gracious to us over the next couple of days. Thank you.